also in the meantime, I've been creating some bit more behind the scenes R&D, kind of like prepping myself for the texturing process, which I'll quickly show you before we go too far into animation. But I basically have a different, it's quite a popular set of tools for Photoshop brushes by a guy called Kyle. It's called Kyle's Ultimate Pack. I've used this for many years. So yeah, it's been a really useful one. There's literally over like 200 brushes, but I basically went through and looked at a bunch of different paintings that are my inspiration for the art direction, and then picked out a bunch of brushes that I feel like will be useful for me when I start painting all the background stuff. So you can see in here that there's only a couple of pencils, but we're looking mostly at like watercolor and ink, and then a couple of gouache as well. And then different like smudge effects to help me blend stuff, and then there'll be like little things like noise and salt patches and that kind of stuff as well. So yeah, and then for like outline stuff, there's a couple of ink brushes there too. So here are a bunch of different screenshots that I found really nice, like good inspiration for the direction I want to take it. In terms of background, so these are primarily screenshots from Ghost in the Shell and Akira. And basically I'm just going to start going through and trying to replicate it with the brush that I have, just to see what I'm capable of achieving, and see how close I can get to this kind of result. So that's something I'm going to be doing in behind the scenes, just doing little patches, and then once I have that, I can then start to actually texture later on once we finish animation. So you can see here, this is all the different tool markings that you can get with this package on Photoshop. But I wanted to narrow it down because when I'm picking my brushes, it's going to be really hard to know how each brush is going to respond to the textures. So I wanted to trim this down so I had like a more clear palette of brushes. So I narrowed it down to these. So yeah, that's going to be useful. In the meantime, also, of course, we've been animating. So what I'm going to do is I'll play at the animation its current state. I think we're roughly around the... Where are we? So we got to around the like 1100 mark. And then we've got this last like 450 odd frames to still do blocking plus for. So there's a fair bit to do. In the meantime, also, I've managed to download the royalty-free music, so now we won't get any ads midway through and disrupt the flow of working, so that'll be nice. Thank God for that, because it was getting on my nerves, maybe as much as it was yours. So, without further ado, I will pause the music, and then I'll play what we have so far. You'll also notice I'm not wearing headphones. That's because I left my headphones at work, so if you do ever hear any like double up on the music, hopefully it doesn't come through on the microphone, but do let me know if you are getting any double up, because it'll be coming out my speakers. So just be aware of that's why. Hopefully you don't know. Cool. I'll give a play to animation of CYBERPHONK currently. Nice. So yeah, that's what we've got to. So the part that we did last stream was just try and scrub to where we were. Let me put the music back on. So we got to the point we'd done the slides, so it was around here. So we did this push off, turn around, landing, and then we did a slight anticipation into the push off, grab the robot, drop down, swing through, and then into this hang time. And then today, the intention will be to do the extra drop, swing up, hang, and then crash down through here. So I might see how what if I maybe I'll finish at like this pose here. We'll see how we get on. I can probably say roughly how many frames that is. Let's have a look. Because this is quite a fast section, but there's a lot of different like choices that I need to make through this. So it's around 48 frames. So it's about 20 less than what we did last stream. However, what we're doing inside of those is a lot more complex. So yeah, it's going to be a bit more of a technical one, but this is one of the like larger technical hurdles animation wise that we still need to address. But it is quick. So like it's quick in terms of frame length. So hopefully it kind of balances itself out, but you'll see me probably doing a lot of problem solving with this one. So yeah, as we're coming through here, this is the part that's going to be interesting, and I believe I was collaborating with Mark Spokes when I was blocking this part out, because I was trying to figure out the logic. Yeah, I can see where I'm going with it. So we have the robot coming down, and then she overtakes it. She swings up, and then we're bringing the robot to our feet. So there's like a double swing in here, which would be really fun. So it's like a 1, 2, 3 kind of feeling to like the revolving of the flip. So it may be a case that some of that will need to be on ones to make that read, but I feel like we'll be in a pretty good spot. And then as we're coming down here, it would be nice to actually get some feeling of the robot like crumpling up and like parts falling off of him. I don't know what flexibility I have with the rig in order to do that, but I'll see what I can do. Hopefully, if not, I might be able to swap out to a geometry version of the rig over a frame, and then that will allow me to like animate the geometry to crumple up and do lots of crazy stuff. And then later we'll add 2D effects, etc., etc., to really just like sell the idea of her breaking the robot. And then the idea also in here, just so I'm just selling you all my intention. As we're coming through this part here as well, you can see she's pushing off this shuttle. I want to make it very clear that this shuttle is not part of the environment. So what I may do at one point is maybe get a little bit of blur in the back when we comp it. But I do want to have some like background characters, some like crowd characters inside of this ship, like looking up, being like, "Oh, what's happening?" Essentially, as we come through, because then same here, you may see them like looking out the window, just like peering up against the wall, the window wall kind of thing. And then you'll see here, like we still see a bit more of the foreground of the ship as we come through. So yeah, there are a few things to doing there. Like crowd is something that I intend to do after we've done her. And then yeah, we'll essentially carry on from there. So that's the part I want to do today though. But yeah, I appreciate all of the support, and as always, if you have any questions during the process, you know you can always reach out to me. So yeah, I'm just gonna start cracking on. But yeah, it's gonna be a fun part of the process, getting all the backgrounds painted and everything as well. This isn't final background either, so a lot of what we're seeing here is actually going to be quite different to the final product. The general tone will be similar, but the compositions will change. So for instance, at the beginning here, it looks like there's this large wall behind us, but I actually want it to feel like we're at the very top of a building, almost like on the scaffolding of the top of a building. And then as we descend, it starts going from like more higher class, like the higher class being on the top, and it gradually goes more into like the streets the lower we go. So at the top here, as she starts to descend, I want some of this stuff to feel more like upper class and corporate. as she comes through here, she slides down this glass, and inside this building, I want this to look really fancy on the inside. But then by a time, and so all of this is going to be like a market that she's going across. Through all of here, so this might be a shop or something like that. That she's coming past, and then here, as we go under, this goes now into like the industrial part. So this is where all the piping and the steam and all of the like sewage and everything goes. And then maybe a couple of windows coming out from like different apartments. And then now we're going down into like the neon signs through here, and now this is where we start to enter the streets. So we're coming down. This is where like the majority of people live. So this is where all the hustle and bustle is. And then we're going through this restaurant. And then as we drop down here, now we're truly in the streets where this is going to feel really gritty. And something like you might see. It's essentially a similar concept to what you might see in something like Arcane, right? So you've got Piltover, and then you have... can't remember what the bottom's called. Oh, what do they call it? I can't remember now. Is it Dawn? Something like that? Or am I just making that up? I can't remember what they're called. But it's a similar concept, right? And you see this quite a lot. This isn't just an Arcane. This is a reoccurring theme where, like, you have the same in, like, Hunger Games, right? Where you have, like, the people up top who are in, like, the pristine skyscrapers, and you go down into the streets the lower you go. So, yeah, that's what I want to sell with the different environmental stuff. So, yeah, there is a lot of work to do, but I am making this full-on piece. So I've also, just so you guys know, there was a comment last stream regarding how to create, like, are there any commands in the stream about information about the project? And so I have made those in the meantime, since there was a request to. So if you were to put in !CYBERPHONK in the chat, it's going to hopefully show a bit of information. There you go. Shows a little bit of information about the project itself. Just a brief description. And then I've got things like the rigs. If you put !rigs, it's got all the credits for the different assets I'm using. There's also one for modeling too. If I do that. And then last but not least, since this has come up a few times too, there's one for software. So yeah, that's all information regarding like the project so far, but there are a couple of assets that I've but I've grabbed from other places too, so I will be sure to credit those when I get around to it, but I don't have all that information right now. But I will, at some point, I will grab that stuff too. So yeah, last but not least, we can start cracking on basically. So I need to see where I carried on from. You can see there are a lot of keys. Let me narrow this down for us. So this is a little too far back. So we're coming through. We had this swipe up to here. And then we're going to do the drop, pass through, hang, drops down, rolls through, and then jumps away onto this pose here. So I can also see my Tusify is currently on, which I don't really want it to be at this stage. So actually I'm going to turn that stuff off. Let me just grab these. So this is currently correct, but then here, let me just turn these off. Sorry, just pause for us. I'm getting a bit of a Maya freezing. There we go. And then we'll turn it off here. So then, yeah, now we can carry on from where we left off. And I still have my selection set from the last stream, so it selects both characters together. So there may be a couple of tweaks in here that we need to make to reach this position, in terms of timing and spacing as we come through. So I'm just going to turn off the audio so I can see the keys a bit clearer. So as we drop through here, I can see what I'm trying to do with the poses, but I don't quite think it's working yet. So I'm just going to ease these out together. Right, we should be back now. Right, so we're coming through. So I had the bot drop down, and I want to lead with her body. So again, I don't want to stretch too much. We may get a very small amount of stretch in here. But I do want to keep it quite minimal. I want it to feel like everything just pulls with her. And then obviously her spine can straighten out and her legs can drag, etc. Or we could just have it follow through. Because that's what it looks like I was doing. Yeah, it looks like it was driving around. It looks like we're actually twisting based on my blocking. So maybe I can have her head come into clarity a little earlier. Yeah, it looks like we're really dragging behind. So I want to preserve a bit of clarity on the leg silhouette. Then as we're dropping through, this is where we have this breakdown. So yeah, we're going to be passing through here. Now, I want this to still be an ease out. I'm going to have to go into perspective view. And just push her further back. She's coming through here. It's going to be a bit more direct. But I still want to keep her silhouettes clear as she drops around. So again, I'm going to have to tweak some of the posing in here. Because she wants to keep hold of the top of it. Yeah, she needs to keep hold of the top. So I want to keep a read of her head as we come through. So I'm just compensating a little bit with her spine. Yeah, it looks like her arm is doing something quite funky here. And then I want to keep that leg out. I feel like it needs to be a bit straighter as it comes through. Then we're leading down with this leg. Want to get a bit of a clearer line through the body. And I might be able to twist the hips a little bit through here just to connect to what the spine is doing in the legs. Oh, that's really nice to hear from you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So as we're coming through, I definitely want to feel a drag in the foot as well. So we're just pushing things a little bit more. So we're coming through. And then it looks like we have another 2 frames here. So actually, I'm going to use this to ease out even more because we have an extra key. So I'm just going to select both the robot and her. Then you see how this is on 3 frames here. So I'm going to ease this out so we have an extra frame just for clarity. So then in here, oh, I need to rebind robot again. So we're coming through. So I need to track the arc of the robot. So we're coming out here. I have a feeling that our spacing is now a little bit off on her. So we're coming through. It's dropping down. I feel like that needs to favor the previous pose. And then this can be easing out. So it's a little bit more progressive. I can always get a little bit of like the hips and the chest to still be twisting a bit more. This allows us to get a bit more of the follow through in the leg as it comes around. A bit more of a lead. So just tracking the arc. It feels like it's also swinging too far to the right too early. Sorry, too late. So I'm actually going to compensate a little bit of her shifting to the left. Just continuing the inertia a little bit. So you get that path of her hanging, and then it comes out in a little bit more of an arc. And then I need to track her arms contacting, because again, we're losing a little bit of that in here. So I'm just selecting her spine and her arms, and I'm just going to knock those down in screen space. I don't want to go too far, so also considering just in the in-between, just to stretch a little bit in there on the arms. Then the body comes through. So I'm just going to shift. I want to track her arc first. Just on the hips. I don't want it to go too... So we're coming through. This feels like it needs to arc over more. Yeah, it does. That feels a little better. There's still something on this leg that feels off, though. Yeah, it feels a bit better. Just tracking the arc. That leg needs to scoop in more, a little bit more direct. I think that's working better. Which means the robot may also need to go a little bit further through. I think it was just more about the inertia of the character. So I want to get this feeling that it's leading her. So she's reaching out. So it's coming through now. So this is on a 1. So it's quite quick through here. And then this is on 2s. Now it's a case of, do I hang in this for a bit longer so there's a bit of a slow and then fast? Or is this one continuous fast action? Whoa. I think it needs to be quick. Which makes me wonder, do I bring this 1 frame earlier? I think this needs to be earlier, potentially. Oh, I don't know. Maybe I think this time is actually going to work as it is. So as we're coming through here, need to blend this through. Need to make sure I get the weight dropping down. But it does feel like she needs to be facing this way. Based on her trajectory. I think it also just looks a bit more appealing to the rhythm of the motion. And then I'll just push the silhouettes a little bit more to read it. And then I think the health bot's angle needs to be more like that angle. His name is Healthbot in the rig, but just for context, that's not what we're going to be. That's not its purpose. It's not a health droid. It's more like a surveillance security droid in our project. Something like this. So we're coming through. I want her to ease in. And she's going to swing through. Now, maybe we are leading the leg quite a lot. I feel like we can have that arc through. Or I just need to lead this up. so that there's a bit more of a transition. Like this. And then as we're coming around, I want to feel more of a change in her spine to feel that coming through. I feel like I'm just overstretching her translations here. Get a little bit more weight now. Can you see the relationship of the head going down? There's a bit more of negative space, so we're feeling the weight drop and come through. Meanwhile, as the body goes down, the leg comes up, so you get this nice opposing action. And then this leg also needs to start coming through. This is tricky because it does pass around. Thank you so much. I do wonder if I need to stretch the foot or something in here. Or if it's just not important. Just seeing how far I can push this before I'm going too far. So do I have the leg come through? Maybe something like this, and then that leg's trailing back. Or does that look really weird? It's more just the clarity of the legs that feels a bit strange, but then you do get this nice... It's more abstract, but it is part of the flow, I guess. Like, I'm curious just to see how it'd look. Like, how it'd feel rather than how it actually looks as a single frame. It's just the angle. They are aligning. They're, like, turning into one thing. So I could do this, and now you can see they're slightly separated. But then you don't really read her silhouette, so it makes me inclined to just bring the leg out more. But I'm now wondering if that's too complex. Because it's mid-movement. It is enough to break it up, though, so maybe it's important to do that. I think it may need to be on ones, for instance. Maybe that's where we go back on a one again, just to read that transition of the foot. Or we do a speed line later. It's really, you know, there are different choices we can make here. So we're coming through, we're pulling up. Just tracking the path of the robot as well. I do want it to slow down because she's going to... all her weight's going to make it drop slightly. You'll see where I'm going with it in a second. So let me save that. I can probably zoom in on this just so you can see a bit clearer what's going on stream. And then I've got another in between to make through here. So again, this is where this is going to be quite an integral one, because this is the breakdown of her coming through. So now if I go back into perspective, she's driving forward as she comes around. And then it's going to drop the robot slightly. So she's pulling it around. And I do want to lean her back so that it's driving more with her hips. And then I might be able to get a bit more of a curve in her spine. And her arms. So I'm just creating the shape first, and I'm going to counter rotate it. Let's get a bit more of a bend to the arm flow. Like this. And I'm going to keep this leg straight. Just as it drives through. So coming around. We're tucking the other leg in, which is a nice contrast. Just getting a clear read on her face as we come through. Like this. So now we're coming around. Do I hyperextend the foot a little bit more? Just trying to create that nice simple line going down her leg. Still feels like the shoulder doesn't flow correctly. Maybe it's the twist of the chest as well. I think that feels a bit better. It's very fiddly getting the right angles. I may need an extra in-between in there as well, because it's so quick. Yeah, I have a feeling I might. I do want to tweak this pose though, for sure. Because this, we're losing a lot of information here where like her whole spine is straight. And I feel like it still needs to feel like we're tucking in with her hips, so her spine needs to be curled in. So I need to curl her spine. The legs are just tucking in too much, that's why. I can tuck her neck in as well. So we're getting something more like this. As it comes through, it feels like we're leading around with the spine is more involved, it's less straight. Simplifying some of these shapes. And then the robot is going to be upside down. It needs to be lower. Something like this. And then we're grabbing onto the ends of it like we were before. So big stretch in there, which is nice. Just through the breakdown. And then it's pulling her up, which I think works well. So it's just a case of whether we want to put this section on ones or not, really. Which I do not know right now. I'm going to put it on twos, and then maybe we just play it back and see where we're losing information. It might be here to here, potentially. It may be that that whole section needs to go on ones, really. But we'll see. It really just depends, because this is a very complex action. And we may just not have enough information. So I'm going to select both of them again together. And I'm going to ease this in. So you can see how we're now tucking the legs in. I actually really like this shape already. That's working really nicely. The bot needs a little bit of work. Yeah, I thought this was the case. So there's something about the rotations of the robot where I knew something felt wrong. It might be the Y, potentially. No. Is it the Z? Yeah, the Z. Comes around. We're twisting this way. So this should be this way? No, the other way around. Huh? So strange. Let me just snap the rotations back. So then here would be this way around. Yeah, I think that's mostly working. It does need to be tighter though. So as we're coming through, this needs to be higher up. And it needs to feel like he's being lifted. So there's a slight drag. And then now we're pulling up. Something like that. So now as we're coming through, we're tucking in. This arm needs to also be holding on still. Needs to be a nice stretch through these arms here. Looks like that arm, the other wing, is slightly out? Or is it just these flaps? No, it is still slightly out. Is it this guy or is it this guy? It's that one. There we go. It needs to be closed. I'm not sure why it was going out through all of that. Yeah, there we go. That's better. So it's coming around, we tuck through, we're leading up, we pull in. I like the idea of her dragging her head behind as well. And then this is when everything is easing in together. I want to spend a little bit more time in this hang, so I'm going to delay this by a frame so that we're easing in on twos. So now we're tight easing in. And it may be that the roots can just overshoot early. I don't know, maybe it doesn't need to. Maybe it's just the overall twist. Because I can see here we're already beginning to twist. Ah, interesting. So I'm easing in the head early. Just getting a little bit more of an arc on the health bar. So it's coming through. Now on her, her arms need to be holding on to him still. Now it's just a case of, as I'm coming through this, do I want to twist earlier to favor the next pose? But yeah, we've got some crazy gimbal lock going on, it seems, which I thought was happening. So I need to fix that. Let's just check her rotations. I think there's a big spike. Yeah, it looks like there is. Yeah, big spike. But it's only over those 2 frames, so there's part of me that just wants to kind of just cheat it. I know, again, this is not the right solution, conventionally, but we're keeping it on 2s. I think I can just do it by eye into that transition. And then we can pull the twist. And then the legs. Her feet need to be tucked in more. So I think that transition is working. Just need to clean up some of the shaping. Like that. Now, during this hang time, I am wondering whether, as we come through, whether I ease into this for longer and then come out faster, or if it is a bit more of a progressive transition, because this is on a 3 right now. So I'm just wondering whether I need to push this later so we have one more in between. Yeah, I think it's just going to be 1 frame later. So now we're easing out. More gimbal, that's great. Just tracking the head. Something in her spine. Here's her neck. Feels a bit better. Just tracking the arc of the head as it comes through. Here we go. Just track the knees. I think that's fine. Want to get a bit more clarity on the other leg though. Think that's working. And then we need to do an ease out. So now it looks like we need to, everything needs to travel a little bit to the right. Just to track the arc. Yeah, it feels a bit better as it comes through. Maybe this needs to be a little to the left. And then I need to keep her legs together. For longer. So we get a nice hang time. Gonna hold the arms as well. Head needs to be further back. It looks like the spine is starting to rotate out. It feels like it's also breaking. I think I've gone, yeah, I've broken something in her anatomy. There we go. Already looks a lot better. Shoulders are also broken. Just fixing some of this stuff. Starting to look a little better. There is something about her hips, yeah, that was feeling weird. You can see it's not even contacting. We're slightly cheating a lot of this. It's more just in camera. But I do need to fix her hips and her leg position. So that they are connecting a little bit more to what her anatomy is doing. I want to get the flow of the pose first. Something like that. I'm just wondering if I need to delay her head or not. Yeah, it's probably best to. So, we're coming around, we hang, then we're coming out, and then we're dropping down. So we've got one more in between to ease out here. And this really just depends how much impact we want as to how big this changes. So I'm going to have the arms ease in so that they're dragging for longer. And they hang up the top. And get a slight drag in the hand. Now, I don't really want to scale. I don't think I even can scale the robot. But this is more a case of my spacing, how progressive I want it to be as it comes out. I think to justify this momentum, this may need to be on ones. So I'm going to put this down on a frame earlier. And then it's a case of, because that's maybe not going to hit on the sounds now, but it's more the animation. I may need to offset everything else by a frame later. I just need to listen. If anything, it hits better on the sound now. I'll take it. Let's turn that off again. So then it's coming through. And I do want to hit into this earlier. I do feel like I'll need one extra in between in here, though. This will definitely need to be on ones to feel the weight coming through. And then I want to get a bit of a spine reversal, so I'm going to push her forward. And then lean her back. So that's her hips driving and then her spine comes through. It's a subtle reversal, but it will sell the idea. Ah, thanks so much. I appreciate it. You guys are all too kind to me, honestly. So we're coming through. The spacing in here does feel a little off. So I do feel like the arm needs to come out for sure. And then we're tracking screen space as it wipes through. Shoulder drops a bit more, I think. Just we're breaking our anatomy a bit too much in here. I think I just need to make this a bit more of a fluid curve on the arm. I also don't like the angle of the fingers here. It's feeling a little odd. Let me just change that hand pose because it's feeling a little strange. I'm curious if it is the actual hand pose from the library or not. It probably is. Yeah, it was. And these tiny thumbs. So we're coming through, we're dragging. I like what we're doing with the hand here. Ah, I can see that we are... It looks like we're crushing the robot here. I'm actually... Even though I can see where I'm going with it, I am going to just slightly drop, like raise her so that there's a bit more room for the robot to crunch down. And then as we're coming through here, this hand needs to come back. So we get that nice reversal so that one arm is going to the left and the other one goes to the right, but we still get a bit of drag. Let's see if I can delay the hand a bit as well. Just like drag the fingers back. So it was her right hand. Yeah, like this. And then we're coming through, and then we're pushing back. Now, as that drops, this is quite slow as we roll out of it. I am wondering if I want to spend a little bit more time in this, easing in before we push off again. So if I make this faster, the only tricky thing is I also then will need to retime the ship as well, which I think it doesn't have any controls, but it is just one set of geo. So I can just also shift this earlier. Yeah, that's better. So she's coming through. Again, needs to be another breakdown here. So this is on ones too, because this is such a quick transition. And weirdly, we're wiping through with her left arm, but then here it comes back on itself, which doesn't quite make sense. I almost want to bring the arm around the other way then, so that it does this. So we get this nice arc motion that's a bit more fluid into the next one. And we can still have it wipe. So it'll be more like this. You'll see where I'm going with it. So then we're coming around, so it's this way instead. Then as we're coming through, we're now on the other side. Got some weird hand posing going on in there, though. This is just because it's a raptor former on a currently other existing rig. So I've got to just experiment with... I may need to just handcraft some poses slightly differently later. But I do want to get a nice, clean straight through here. And then with her legs, again, just clean up some of the shapes. Keep it graphic. I'm actually going to keep that foot closer to the ground again. Not sure why that knee is pointing so far back, though. Does it need to be lower? I'm just going to cheat that knee into the right position. The beauty of bend bones. The flow of this pose still isn't quite working, so I need to have it lower, like her bending further down to have the arm go into more of a straight. Something like this. And then this is the nice transition where we can lead through with the other arm early. So we're getting more shape like this as we're dragging back. into the contact. And then as we're rolling out, this will also be faster. I think this can be on 2s. That's fine. In theory. I just need to fix some of the... It feels like the camera's now not catching up quick enough because we're delaying it. It's nice to have her lead the action, but maybe it's too far. Because if I go into full camera view, this is our camera frame. See how quick we're leading through here? Maybe it'll work. Maybe we just need to make that camera slightly earlier. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go on the camera here, which is currently locked. And I want to see where the transition begins. This is all fine. It's this key here. I'm just going to try and shift this a little earlier. Just gives us a little bit more, yeah, of us following her. I think that will work. And then from here I can clean up. So we're coming through. We want to lean more of our weight over that arm. And then as we're coming through, we're tucking that leg round. So pushing away. This one can tuck in. Just tracking our arcs and our clarity again. And then as we're coming around, we're now easing in. This is way too late. I think we can slow down into this. So I'm going to ease in. I'm wondering if we need to see this arm, her right arm, during this part. I feel like we can just hide it. Then it begins to come around. Then this arm needs to remain straight. So it's coming through. Just tracking. Arcs a little bit more. It's getting quite complex through some of these shapes. Going around. Still this way. Then it comes down, yeah. I feel like that arm needs to be earlier though. Oops. More gimbaling. That's fun. It's coming around. Fucking in. And then we're coming through. Her hips can be lower here. We get this nice simplistic shape as well, which is cool. So we're leading down with that weight on the leg. This shape can be a little rounder on the top. Something about her hips here feel a little off though, that connection. That feels better. And then there's an extra in between in here from here, which will work nicely. I think we can get a bit more of a twist in her chest. So I don't have to compensate with that shoulder as much. Keeping that arm tucked under, simplifying the shape. This reads a bit clearer. I'm going to try to lead with the head up a little bit more here. Just tilt the head into the lead. So it's pulling her up. Still a bit of a disconnect between what the shoulder and the arm is doing. That helps a little bit more. Just feed that line through. And then we got one more in between here. Whoa, crazy gimbal. So for anyone in the past who's asked, Aaron, have you got gimbal lock on this? I think we've answered that question. But you can see that I'm just brute forcing the fix because it's only usually on the one in between or two. Which is not the correct or healthy way of fixing it. I feel like she needs to lean more into this. Because we need to reach this position here. I wonder if I need to just hit this pose earlier. So we hit this. And then we're easing into this. Yeah, I think that just makes more sense. Let me just push her back. So then she's dragging her arm. Arms are in, legs are in FK, maybe? Or are they in IK? It's really hard to tell. They're in FK. So again, I'm trying to cheat the position. But that works pretty closely. And then this arm is coming back. I think this arm needs to just stay where it is. Just tuck it in a little bit more just so that we can hide that spacing. And then it vanishes there. So in theory, we have everything now on 1s or 2s, but... And I can chuck it on Tusify if we need to, but there is, because it is going to stagger through here. But I do wonder if keeping it on 2s is enough, or if it needs something else. I think I need to test it with Tusify first, honestly. So I'm gonna save this, and then I'll go through and I'll fix what I need to. So if I go onto my outliner, we have Tusify here. And I have these I need to add. So because I've added extra keys, I need to redo it each time, essentially. So let me just scrub back. And I need to select all of these keys here. I'm going to copy that. Then we're going to delete this. Then let's use Tusify. And then we want to do attach to camera, assign the camera. This, master is that, keys are that. Attach to camera. Luckily, the script is very fast. And then I can set key here and then go to my attach cam and just paste the values back. So we should be back to where we were. But now we've got the extra keys to update. So we're coming through. In here, I actually turned it off. I'm going to keep it on. Through here. So you can see she's attached to camera now. All the way through here. So I'm actually going to keep her attached to camera through this. The only time we may not want to keep her attached, well, I can attach her to camera. It just means that I need to also attach this to the camera so that you don't see it sliding. So it'll be a little bit jittery, I guess, on screen, this thing traveling. But then if it does feel too jittery later, because again, I can share the frames, I can share keys on this piece here. So what I'll do is, this is in spline right now, but what I'm just going to do is I'm going to go through. So we have this key, which is good. So I'm going to insert keys wherever she moves. Twos. 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 So I can delete that key. There is a share. There is a way of sharing keys, doing this manually. You can do it like there is Animbot has a share key tool that you can use, so it matches what she does. But for now, I'm just going to use this. So it's not going to be a one. It's going to be 1-to-1 right now, but it will change. I'm just copying, I'm matching the keys that she is. Like this. So now I can keep those in steps because we're going to screen space match. But the thing is, I just remembered something. We have the master. Let me see if this works. There you go, it does. So now I see how she stays with it, even though the background moves. So it makes it feel like it's each one of these frames is a drawing. It only moves when she moves, which is what I intend to do later. Obviously, she's going to be more in between here, so the transition will be smoother for this, for the shuttle as well. But for now, yeah, it's going to work. So in here, on the attach cam, thank you for the follow, by the way. We have the shuttle, so I'm just going to make sure that it's keyed here on contact, but before that, it's actually going to be turned off. That's that way through this transition, all the way through here. All of this is not attached to the camera, just through that transition. It's only when she makes contact does it actually follow her keys. So she's working. Need to do the same for the health bot. So health bot does already have existing attach cam on him. So it's this one. So again, I just need to find the key where I first placed it, which was this one, 755. Copy that, and then we can delete the attach. Then we want to change that. Oh, shit. Sorry. I pressed the wrong button. 755. We want to go... Our global is that one. Master cam, fly, attach. There we go. Right, now I can attach and paste back in. So now, in theory, this is still on through here. And should remain on. So now everything stays attached together. There we go. And you can also see that he's locked a camera. That's because we didn't add extra keys. So I would need to add those back in, basically. Same way we did before. That's why I had to go in, insert the keys on the shuttle, so it always stayed. It would still move in screen space relative to the keys. I didn't do that for HealthBot, so he's not going to be the same timing as everything else. So you're going to see he's going to be like attached to camera and just basically stick there through after the contacts here, which feels a bit weird. So what I can do, since I kind of know what we're going to be doing, what I will do is I will just do the same thing as I did with the shuttle, just to keep it consistent. So let's turn off the attach cam. Let's remove that again. So we're just going to insert keys through this. And then by this point, he's off camera anyway. So that works. So now, in theory, it should be fixed if I use that, and then I just need to change the new frame numbers, attach again, and then I'm already on frame 755, which is perfect, so I can key that and then paste again. Voila. Okay, we're back. So now, as she comes through, she should follow the robot should follow the shuttle. There we go. So now it's just not distracting. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to this key here. So we're going to change this to 1134. And then we'll go from around here. So this is 1014. Right. I can also get rid of the temp sign path. We don't need this anymore. That was just earlier to track something. So save that. And then let's turn the grid off. Let's turn the audio on. And then let's play Blast. And see how it looks. I have a feeling I may need to add something on ones here and there again. I don't want it to feel super smooth, but you need to read the action. So if something doesn't read because it's too complex, then I may make the creative choice just to make it smoother. So I've just muted the music as I talk over this. I think, generally speaking, it is flowing through pretty well. There is something still in that transition, which I thought would be the area that I need to put on ones. Maybe this part that I need to make it a little bit more fluid. I think this reads. But this to this just needs a little bit more information. Yeah, I think so. So what I'll do is I'll put the music back on. And then I'm just going to add some in-betweens through that section. So, but the good part is most of it is working. So we're coming through, we catch, we drop down, we swing through, we're hanging, we drop, this is all good, it's here. This isn't too bad, but the foot does lead a lot. So I feel like I want to read that for an extra frame. So I'm just going to add an in-between in here. And keep it lower. And keep the health bar up a little higher. And then this just allows that leg to reach up a little earlier. I feel like I do need to favor it a bit more though. I think that works. And then in here, an extra in between here too. So we're coming through. I want her to ease in. It's a little tighter. She swings through. And I want to tuck that leg in earlier too. So it might be that this leg stays straight. So see how it's tracking the spacing now? So it's coming around, tucks in. That's a lot better to read. And I'm just going to keep that foot tucked in. Yeah, that's feeling much better. I don't know if that knee... Yeah, I just need to give it a little less depth. And then I just need to attach... need to track the health bar. Needs to be lower. Needs to be more to the right, I think. As does she. I think even here, I think both of them need to be more to the right. If I track that path. Oops. Yeah, I think that works a bit better. And then same thing here. Robot needs to be more to the right again. Just tracking that path. And then I can compensate with her accordingly. Mostly her arms. There's quite a lot of stretching going on through here. Big stretch on the arms. I think that works better. Yeah, I think that should feel a bit more fluid now. Let me just play blast that again. It's pretty quiet in the chat today, though. Maybe it's just the time. I know this is a bit earlier for those in the US, which I think quite a fair bit of the audience is there still. But for those who didn't get to tune in, they can check this out on YouTube for sure. So, I will pause one more time and play this through. Yeah, I think it works pretty well. What do you guys think? Do you think that reads for you? I can mute it. You'd have to keep it hearing the looping. But when you play that, when I play that through, do you read the action? Is the main thing. Do you understand what happened? The idea being, of course, that she grabs it, it pulls her, she swings over the top of it, it starts to drop, but she takes over it as it tries to catch its weight. But then she uses her momentum to carry around the other side of it to then pull it up. They both suspend in the air and then they drop down. So the logic there being that obviously if his boosters are pointing to the floor, he can levitate, right? So she drops, he's now dropping, but because of her momentum, it throws them up, but they can't stay up because he's pointing with his head to the bottom. So they're going to drop, right? So they start to drop. He takes over slightly, so he catches his balance, which suspends them in the air while she continues to take over again. But then they hang for a little bit because of inertia, and then they drop down. So it's essentially a mini fight that they do where he's like, whoa, no, whoa, drop. It's very quick, but there is logic to the movement. You see how quick that is? He's like, whoa, what's going on? Ah, poof. That's the idea. And when we play it through rhythmically, just to check that works, maybe there's room to make the transition here a little faster. So we suspend in this just a tad longer. Maybe. When I listen to the rhythm. Yeah, I kind of want to feel that a little bit longer. I think it's a little bit too progressive. So I can just select all of them. It is going to change the Tusify, so I have to update their keys, but I want to get the timing down. So we're coming through. I think here, this needs to definitely be on the 1. And I want to suspend in the hang time for longer. So I can add an extra key through here as well. If I make that section on 1s. And then now we're suspending here for a bit longer. So I can add an extra in between. So now it's faster through there. We hang in this for just a little bit longer. So we read this a bit more. So I'll just try that one more time. We basically took 2 frames out of the transition and added 2 frames to the hang time. So it makes it a bit snappier. So we come through, swipe, drop, swing up, hang, and then drop down again. It's a bit more contrast. There's something, the only thing I'm noticing is there's a little flick on the hand, which shouldn't be there. So we're coming through in here. That right hand needs to remain hidden. Just keeps on appearing where it shouldn't be. Like that. Let me just replay blast that. Yeah, I think we're in a pretty good spot though. So next part, everything from this part onwards, in theory, should be pretty like smooth. Like this was probably one of the more techie parts that we had to still animate. The rest of it, we don't have loads of crazy complexity. Let me just play it one more time. Yeah, I think that works. So yeah, I'm going to leave that where it is for now. animation wise. We will do the crumple effect later for the robot, because I need to figure out how I want to do that. I may have to create like some geometry with a blend shape or something to see it actually snap. Because as far as I'm aware, I can check. I don't think on the wing controls we have the ability to I don't think we have the ability to translate the wings off and stuff. No, they're only rotate. So basically, there are limitations to the robot geometry that I'll have to fix. Which I could basically just duplicate it and then animate the pieces the same way that I have done for like the arm transitions for the biomechanical arm. The same way I did that was I duplicate the mesh that's attached in a group, just constrained to the same joint, and then I'm turning the visibility of the actual rig's geometry off, and then turning on the group with just geometry and no rig, animating the little pieces to come out and then come back in, and then over a frame it switches back to the rigs and all the skinning works. So I'll probably do a similar thing with this robot. I'll group it to the main piece, but then I'll turn off the geometry over a frame, switch of the rig, then switch to the animated geometry where it's no joints and there's no rig, animate the pieces, and then it'll carry on as it is. And then I may be able to sculpt like a blend shape that can turn on of the robot crunching, essentially, which would be quite nice. So then I have a bit more flexibility, a bit more, it shows a bit clearer the intentions of what I want to do with it. And then if I need to adjust major like foot positions and stuff for where the foot goes in the crunched version of the robot, I can do that. That'll be pretty quick. So yeah, we're making good progress though. I will just go over what we want to do next time. So if I go to this version here, so we did all of this, come down, and then this is the part that we did today, where we figured this transition out. And then as we dropped down, we did all of this, we did all of this, and then here. So we're going to push off, we're flailing through the air. I think this is going to be pretty quick. And then we have a quick drop, which again, super easy to do. This is all really easy. I think through here, this is very like snappy hang time. Again, I think I can get through this stuff super fast. So I reckon I could probably do like from here to where we left off. So this part to this, maybe in like an hour and a half. And then this, well, even this, I could probably add to that an hour and a half. And then this part here is a little techie. So this is the only extra techie part that we have to do, I would say. So from this point, she swings, she grabs something, suspends in the air. All the blocking is there. And then she lands down, swipes through. She's now going to hold a newspaper in front of her face as she slides. And then she'll drop the paper. She lands into this. This is all really easy. This is all easy. This is all easy too. All of this, honestly, like, I'm not worried about any of this, any in-betweening through here. The only extra part in here, which is going to get a little trickier, is the ending. And the ending, reason being, it's going to be a little bit more organic, which isn't an issue. I have like a spline bake I can do through here. It's more the attitude. So that's the part that's going to be tricky. I want her to like, there to be a very clear read that she picks out something through here. I like her initial, like, keep her head down as she comes through. So this part here. I like this posture. And then after she does this action, I think I can make this a little less, because right now she looks a bit defeated, like a bit shy. And I don't know if I want that with her posture. I like this inconspicuousness, but then after that I want her to break out of it as she enters the bar. So that it maybe she's like entering a zone that she feels more comfortable in. So this is kind of like in Cyberpunk 2077 where like they have their bar, right? Where it's like they're all thugs. That's kind of the idea. So she pops up her collar, she's hiding from the officers, and then she's trying to be all timid, but then as soon as she enters, she kind of like comes out of it. And then like, so there's a bit more attitude where she's like, okay. And then she kind of like limbers out. So I still need to reblock some of those poses. Maybe I'll shoot reference for it. I'm not sure, to get some of the specificity in there, because trying to get that down maybe a little bit more nuanced than I'm thinking. So I may just try filming reference just to see if anything comes out of it, and if it ends up looking really simple, then I may not use it. But it may help inspire posing. So yeah, it's something that I need to explore, is really that last part, just so that it doesn't feel too... I like what she's doing, where she's going, it's more the attitude. I like the initial, this part, this is all great, this is fine. It's just this very ending, and we're literally talking like maybe the last 20 frames. So it's literally just a change of posture and attitude as she comes out of it at the very end. So yeah, that's something that I need to experiment with. But otherwise, I think it's all in a good spot. So yeah, in the meantime, if you want to reach out to me on socials, you know where to go. You can message me on LinkedIn or through X, or those will be the main ones. I occasionally go on Instagram, but I'm not super active on there. And yeah, I'm on Discord as well. So, you know, if you ever want to reach out to me with questions or whatever, I'm always there. Otherwise, hope you've enjoyed the stream, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.